Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me, in my new series, Year 2020, Rick Miracle Report. This is number 12, January 30th, just moving along. This ought to be an interesting discussion. That's what my videos are. We're just having a discussion. Looking around our world and thinking about things. Maybe some things we should be concerned about. I was reading another one of these contact magazines, and you can see the title there. We are moving into the neck of the funnel. The Phoenix Project. So the contact magazine, published by the Phoenix Project, also the publishers of the Phoenix Journals. These books. Privacy in a Fishbowl, Spiral to Economic Disaster. And so many more. You can go look up the Phoenix Journals. 4winds10.com and other sites have the PDFs of these documents for free. No excuses. This one is April 6th, 1993. So what were they talking about back in 1993? But before I start reading from this Phoenix Journal, let me just show you a couple books. Occult Invasion. Seduction of the World and Church. Dave Hunt. Occult Invasion. Just want to make a point here. Psychic Dictatorship in the United States. Psychic Dictatorship. Alex Constantine. Another one here. The American Deep State. Even President Donald Trump mentions the deep state. Wall Street, Big Oil, and the Attack on U.S. Democracy. Peter Dale Scott. Here's an interesting one. Tomorrow's Weapons by Brigadier General J. Rothschilds, USA Retireds. Rothschilds. This big, thick book. 5G Crisis, Awareness and Accountability. 5G. These things coming up in your neighborhood, these towers. Look at this big, thick book. So apparently there was hosted by Josh Del Sol. And on his talk program, see if I can find his email here. But he had a whole series of videos on YouTube with Robert Kennedy, Children's Health, Marvin Pale, PhD, Biological Effects, 5G. Let's see, 6, 12, just page after page of all these experts. Speaker lineup here, talking about 5G. So what's 5G? It's microwave transmitters. And then I'm reading this article, Microwave Harassment and Mind Control Experimentation. And as you can see, the yellow highlights, I've been reading this. So back in 93, April 6, 1993, Contact Magazine. You can find it at 4winds10.com. Just saying, you can look up this stuff here. Here's the website. So it says contactnews10.com. So that's another site. Contact News 10.com, the Phoenix Archives. And you can get all these magazines. Rape, Ravage, Pillage, and Plunder of the Phoenix. Phoenix Journal. Microwave harassment and mind control. That's the conversation we're going to have. And I showed you all these books and a series of YouTube videos, a couple hours long, with all these expert speakers. Looking at the camera and looking at the TV. I got to get used to my new system this year. After YouTube canceling my channel in July 2019, I had to find a new platform and spend over $1,000 on Vimeo.com to post my videos and some other sites I tried. And most of the sites didn't like my 2-hour videos or even 1-hour videos. So this year I'm focusing on 30-minute videos. And it's hard to get so much information in one video. But let's talk about microwave harassment and mind control. And I'm not going to read all of this, but I will start out here at the top of this middle paragraph. And I'm just going to read along and throw in my 2 cents. And please, if you're interested at all, go on that website, the Phoenix Project, the websites I mentioned, Phoenix Journals. Find the free PDFs for the journals, for the Contact magazine, for the Liberator magazine. And you can archive these all on your computer, 1,000 plus probably documents, sorted from 1990, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, and 99. 10 years. People knew before the year 2000. Agencies of our own government are on record as having employed precisely these same tactics on recurrent basis. The Church and Rockefeller committee hearings in the mid-1970s purportedly put an end to these practices. So the government, the CIA, etc., were caught abducting people, hospitalizing people, mind controlling them, electroshock therapy, other forms of ways of erasing the memories of people, reprogramming them, creating assassins, like the Manchurian Candidate. Back in the 70s, after World War II, their excuse was the Russians were doing it, so they had to do it. So they were caught, and they had congressional hearings. How many people know about this? And so back in the 90s, they were in the 70s and 80s, after the congressional hearings, the government said, yeah, we stopped doing that. But apparently they have not stopped doing that by no means. All these experts in this big thick book on all those YouTube videos, you can see the beams of energies going towards the house on this book. They're putting these towers up everywhere. And so many books. Based on recent developments, it would appear that the CIA and the FBI's operations, MK Ultra. So anyways, on these contact journals, apparently there are some smart people who do research, but apparently there are also persons who can channel some entity called Hanton, who apparently says he's in a galactic federation organization, even sometimes parked outside Earth's atmosphere, communicating to some humans. So what Hanton does in this particular article is he interjects and throws in his 2 cents, and it's highlighted in black. So he says, yep, you sure have heard of this before. And recently, if you have read the Liberator and or the journals, in fact, all of these, this mess in Waco, Texas, the direct expansion of those ongoing, unceasing projects. So back from the 70s, the 60s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 911, we're all aware of that. And all the countries that have been invaded and the leaders and the governments toppled, and so much more. 50, 60, 70 years these people have been operating in underground facilities and the back rooms of hospitals and little islands off of Manhattan, Long Island, New York City, and so much more, developing these microwave weapons, biological plagues, viruses, entities, apparently even creating the gray aliens and reptilian beings. And apparently it's been going, and they have a big event planned for this, to bring about this global world order. But let me get back to reading this article, and you decide. You go on to the Phoenix Journal's website, download this stuff, look up this particular magazine, April 6, 1993. Put them all on your computer, because I suspect that eventually they'll take down those websites. So they had MH Chaos and COINTELPRO. The focus of the Senate committee and the vice presidential level hearings were instead merely driven underground, just like the 911 government story or President John Kennedy's assassination story. They just kind of brush it all off and don't tell the public the truth, but they continue moving forward with their pursuit of a global world order. We are now in contact with a total of 25 individuals scattered throughout the United States who firmly believe they are being harassed by agencies of the U.S. government. Others have been brought to our attention, whom we will be contacting in the future. The majority of these individuals claim that their harassment and surveillance began in 1989. The methods reportedly employed in these harassment campaigns bears a striking resemblance to those attributed to the CIA and FBI during Operations MK Ultra, MH Chaos, and COINTELPRO. The only difference now is that electronic harassment and experimentation also appear to be more blatantly involved. And there are so many videos on YouTube talking about this 5G microwave transmission issue. And I think people need to wake up to the capabilities of this stuff. The Berlin Wall is down. Communism is in the midst of the death rattle, and the KGB no longer posed the threat which purportedly served to justify the U.S. government's resort to such operations as MK Ultra, MH Chaos, and COINTELPRO. The KGB since 1989 had been reduced to an increasing distant memory. And I have to ask anybody who's any kind of a researcher, do you believe those secret intelligence agencies and agents and elites who controlled them, do you really think they just all disappeared? So Hanton is interjecting in this article again. Remember, this is not a patriot document for the benefit of mankind, readers. Further, remember, there are more KGB operatives in the CIA than Americans. Reactivation of surveillance, harassment, mind control operations in this country suggests that the KGB as an institution was never a real threat. A KGB mentality with its underlying pragmatic contempt for civil liberties, appears instead to have been the driving force behind MK Ultra, MH Chaos, COINTELPRO, and the operations now being reported by us. So I've been reading some other articles, and I'll just, for brevity's sake, shortcut here. There appears to be this deep state government controlling things, just like the book here says. And I have to say, it's not a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. They've been able to get away with what they were doing in the past because we didn't have the intelligence or communications networks and internet and all of this advanced society, TV programming, and they were able to pretty much eliminate people who got too close to the truth. And I think like last year when they turned off my YouTube channel and canceled and terminated many other people's YouTube channels and Facebook accounts and Twitter's accounts and other social media accounts and people's websites. And there's plenty of this on the internet you can find out. 4 months ago, when this project commenced, we approached these complaints of government harassment and experimentation with an admitted high degree of caution. So the people of Contact Magazine, when they started getting information about this electronic harassment of people, mind control, and much more, they proceeded very cautiously looking into this. The growing numbers of independent complaints and the similarities between these complaints cannot be ignored. Under the circumstances, the KGB should be proud of itself. As a mentality, the KGB appears to be accomplishing more in burying this country from within than it ever could have hoped to have achieved as an institution. It would appear that this country has a serious problem on its hands which needs to be resolved. So the KGB obviously were the communists. The communists were controlled by the secret societies, Illuminati, Freemasons, Mystery Religion of Babylon, Kabbalah, witchcraft people. So for sake of deceiving the world, the communist nation supposedly fell, but apparently they just took a firmer control grip on America, and we have these communist forces controlling this country, and they have advanced mind control weapons coming online, advanced weapons that can send microwave audiograms, signals, and make people think the thoughts that were programmed into them, hear voices in their head, drive them insane, force them, push them into committing even suicide or becoming assassins. And it's all here. I've got a whole fistful of documents I went and looked up on these topics. I'll have to make another video to continue this one. I won't be able to get too much in 30 minutes. But let me continue. Part 1 of this report, which is reprinted from the June-July 1992 edition of the Association's publication, Unclassified, preliminary addresses the complaints brought to our attention as of July 1992. Our objective. It's like the light's fooling around with me here. Our objective, as noted, was to weigh the legitimacy of these complaints in terms of the directed energy technologies reportedly involved. The directed energy technologies reportedly involved. Directed energy technologies reportedly involved. This big, thick book, recent series on YouTube, The 5G Crisis, you can go look it up, where they interviewed hundreds of people, hours each videos, put it in a book form, the interviews. And as I showed you earlier in this video, The Rothschilds, a previous general, tomorrow's weapons. So part 2 of this discussion, the overt and covert patterns of harassment identified as a result of our investigations. To date, so apparently the people of Contact Magazine were starting to be harassed and threatened for discussing this topic back in 1992. A part of our objection here is to limit the success of such operations in the future by according them widespread publicity. So they're trying to get this information out to the public back in 1992, 94, and right up to 1999. In part 2, we do not identify individuals by name, both to honor their privacy and because our investigations have not been completed. Part 2 and part 1 is a preliminary finding. Our focus is on the similarities of the complaints being received, similarities which federal and state legislators, the courts, the FBI, local law enforcement agencies, the medical and psychological professors, and the organizations such as the ACLU, Amnesty International, have so far chosen to ignore. We frankly find it curious that more attention and credibility is being accorded purported victims of UFO experiences and spectral visitations than to persons who complain of systematic harassment by these agencies. It's quite horrible what they do here in this material. And my camera is goofing up on me. Oh boy. Guess I got to get a better lighting system. All right, experimentation by the U.S. government involving technologies which the U.S. government is only now grudgingly admitting to possess. These complaints require investigation. In due course, and provided financial support is obtained, we hope to be able to acquire the technology and supportive medical expertise needed to substantiate the claims that were being made. We also hope to alter the institutional mindset that U.S. intelligence can be trusted. History, repeatedly, has proven otherwise. All right, part 1 here, the problem surfaces. This is reprinted from June-July 1992 edition of Unclassified, published by the Association of National Security Alumni, Washington, D.C. The August-September 1991 issue of Unclassified reviewed Hamline University's public administration report on the resolution of MK Ultra cases in 1988. So apparently the public became aware, the news media became aware, and a lot of complaints went to the government, and they had vice presidential and Senate hearings about all of these hospitals in the United States and Canada and in other parts of the world, taking people who were admitted for maybe mental problems or other health issues, and they were medically experimented on. They were brought into situations of deprivation, put in rooms with no light, no windows, no sound, no nothing. And apparently after weeks and days of that, people start to go crazy and lose their mind. Electric shock therapy, zapping the brain, and then when they got into convulsions, they continued to zap them, and they were completely eliminating their memories, erasing their memories. This is all what I read here. And using drugs, they used the CIA, FBI, and other elite peoples from the government organizations and huge corporations bringing LSD to America, creating, before that, the hippie revolution, and over in Europe they called it festivals, all planned, drug introduced to societies, all meant to try to change society, to destroy the intelligent, family-loving men and women of this country and the world. It's all here. Although shocking details of medical ethics abuses by the U.S. and Canadian governments were amply detailed, Washington and Ottawa, Canada, citing national security, where have we heard that before, and government privilege, stalled for so long that the cases never came to trial. The surviving victims settled for a pittance of an out-of-court settlement. So they experimented with these people. They took speakers in these rooms after they were deprived of any light and any sound, and even blindfolded. And then they were, loudspeakers would repeatedly boom information at them 24/7. They didn't get any rest or any sleep, and their minds were programmed, even programmed with key words to activate them to be assassins. And the government has been working on this for 60, 70, 80 years. And we're all aware of the school shootings and bombings and a lot of the other bizarre activities. And we see these young men who are accused, and apparently their involvement with a psychiatrist and on drugs. And it seems to me, and there's plenty of videos out there, that a lot of this is the sinister activity of these, what did I call them here a minute ago? The deep state people. You can get all these books. I'm only showing you a couple books. This is a 30-minute video. I could have brought out 200 books, 500 books, 1,000 books, and made my 2-hour videos and shared more information. But apparently the people in the American public these days can't handle more than 15, 20 minutes. So many people have told me about watching my videos. So there you have it. It's a problem with people's attention span, attention deficit disorder they call it. And apparently a lot of all this is intentional overload of mental activities and poor food, and who knows what kind of drugs and active toxins and poisons are in the food, aspartame in soda. I could go on and on. But let's get back to the government getting caught red-handed, cutting out people's brains and shocking them and drugging them and even operating on them, removing organs. They were becoming experts at this mind control and getting the right frequencies and technologies to put voices in people's heads. And it's all about to come online. All these people on this recent show in 2019, every week this particular host had all these guests, and they talked about it, and I watched them for weeks and a month, and it's just a lot of credible information, and it goes all the way back to the Contact magazine, 1992, the Senate hearings in the 70s and 80s. And I believe they're getting closer and closer to bringing us into this global world order. They're also involved in laboratory experiments coming up with these viruses and these drugs. And we hear a lot of threats about sustainability, global warming, climate change, terrorism. They have a lot of tools at their disposal to bring about worldwide martial law. And they have all the surveillance cameras and other tools, computers, artificial intelligence. They can zap people with these towers wherever they want. So the people that they deem to be a threat could start dropping like flies tomorrow. All right, one more a little bit here. You can go get this Phoenix Contact magazine. I showed you where to get it. Back up on this video, get the magazine picture I showed. Okay, since no individuals or agencies were held legally accountable, The door was left open for a possible resumption of similar mind control activities. In the context of that article, we mentioned briefly that some half-dozen people had contacted us with appeals for assistance in ending what they believed to be electronic harassment, mind control experimentation, possibly involving the CIA. We decided to take a closer look at this situation. It says here, we are now in touch with approximately a dozen individuals located throughout the United States who appear to be targets of harassment, mind control experimentation involving directed energy technologies. By mid-November 1992, that number had increased to 25. Typical persons who complain of being zapped with radio waves and hearing voices are stigmatized as psychotic, delusional, and schizophrenic. So there you have it, my 30-minute video trying to get the word out there that they're installing the 5G everywhere, even putting satellites in space to have Wi-Fi available to everybody. But it's really microwaves, and they have mind control, audiograms, making you hear voices, see images, holograms, all of these technologies, something called Project Bluebeam. And they're all going to be used, in my opinion, to bring about the global world order. And apparently it is being controlled by the deep state, which is apparently part of the occult invasion of the world, the witchcraft, Kabbalah, Illuminati, Freemasons, Club of Rome, so many of these organizations, Zionism, Kabbalah, Rosicrucians, Bohemian Grove, Bilderberger groups. We have an occult invasion, and those occult invaders have these technologies. And me sharing these magazines, this stuff has been reported again and again, like all of the videos on the internet about YouTube, about 9/11 and other murders and other events. But apparently the public doesn't take any of this serious. But it just continues to be rolled out. Viruses coming from China. President Donald Trump signing some kind of a new treaty or legislation with overriding favors to Israel, and I guess telling the Palestinian people to take it or leave it. Of course, we've heard threats in the news about attacking Iran, and the embargo on Venezuela, fires in Brazil, fires in Australia, fires in California. So somebody in chemtrailing, dumping stuff into the sky, and the towers going up everywhere. It's right in front of us. What's it going to take to get people to wake up? Thanks you for watching my video, Rick Miracle reporting.